Captain Jake Morrison had been flying cargo ships for 15 years. He thought space was becoming boring. The same routes, the same colonies, the same empty darkness between the stars. He was wrong about space being boring. His ship was called the Horizon's Edge. It was old but reliable. Jake liked it that way. No surprises, no problems. Just pick up cargo, deliver cargo, get paid, repeat. His crew of 12 people felt the same way. They were tired of adventure. They wanted simple and safe. That morning started like any other. Jake was drinking coffee on the bridge. His communications officer, Amy Chen, was reading messages from Earth. His engineer, Danny Price, was complaining about a loose panel in the engine room. Everything was normal. Then Amy sat up straight in her chair. Her fingers started moving fast across her controls. Her face went pale. Jake had known Amy for 7 years. He had never seen her look scared before. "Captain, I am getting something strange," Amy said. Her voice was quiet. "It is a distress signal, but it is not from any human ship. The language is not in our database. The encryption is nothing I have ever seen." Jake put down his coffee. He walked over to her station and looked at the screen. Numbers and symbols were scrolling past. They made no sense to him. But the pattern was clear. Someone was calling for help. "Can you translate it?" Jake asked. Amy nodded. "I am putting it through the computer now. Captain, whoever sent this is using quantum communication. That is technology we do not have yet. This signal traveled here instantly. Not at light speed, instantly." The bridge became very quiet. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. The computer was working on the translation. It took 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. Finally, the computer beeped. Amy read the message out loud. Her voice shook a little. "This is Keeper Liss of the science vessel Eternal Dawn. We are under attack by the Varkoth Dominion. Our shields are failing. They have destroyed 17 colonies in this sector. They will find your worlds next. If anyone receives this message, warn your people. The Varkoth show no mercy. They see all species as things to be used and destroyed. This is our final transmission." Jake felt cold. He had spent 15 years in space and never met another intelligent species. Humans had always been alone. They had wondered if aliens existed. Now he had his answer, and it was terrifying. "Get me Earth Command," Jake said. "Priority signal. Now." While Amy worked on the connection, the science officer, Robert Kane, brought up a star map on the main screen. He pointed to a red marker. "Captain, based on the signal origin and the mention of 17 colonies, the Varkoth are about 4 light years from our nearest human settlement," Robert said. "How long before they reach us?" Jake asked. "If they have faster than light travel like us, maybe 6 months. If their technology is better than ours, maybe less." Danny spoke up from his station. "Captain, if these Varkoth destroyed 17 colonies, they must be powerful." "Really powerful," Jake nodded. He did not want to think about what could destroy 17 entire colonies. The screen flickered. Admiral Helen Grant appeared. She was the head of Earth Command. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were sharp. She looked like someone who never smiled. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Grant said, "I received your priority alert." "What is happening?" Jake took a breath. "Admiral, we intercepted an alien distress signal. A species called the Varkoth is destroying colonies in this sector. They are moving toward human space." The Admiral's face did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Something that looked almost like she had been expecting this. "Send me everything," she said. "All data. All recordings. Every detail. And Captain, this conversation is classified. Nobody talks about this. Nobody posts about this. Nobody even thinks about this too loudly. Understood?" "Understood, Admiral," Jake said. The screen went dark. Jake looked at his crew. They all looked worried. Amy was biting her lip. Robert was staring at the star map. Danny had his hand on his lucky wrench, the one he always carried. "What do we do now?" Amy asked. "We continue our route," Jake said. "We deliver our cargo. We act normal. And we wait for orders," but Jake could not act normal. His mind was racing. Humanity had been in space for 200 years. They had built hundreds of colonies. They had mined asteroids and explored distant stars. They had done all of this thinking they were alone. Now everything had changed. There were aliens. And some of those aliens were hostile. Very hostile. What Jake did not know was what Admiral Grant was doing at that moment. She had gone to a secure terminal deep inside Earth Command headquarters. The terminal was behind 3 locked doors. Each door required a different security code. Each code was known by only 5 people in the entire human government. Admiral Grant entered the codes. The final door opened. Inside was a single computer terminal. It had not been used in over 100 years. There was dust on the keyboard. She sat down and entered another code. This code was even more secret. Only 3 people alive knew it. The screen came to life. A message appeared. Emergency Defense Protocol active. Awaiting orders. Admiral Grant typed 4 words. Wake the fleet. Far away from Earth, in the cold darkness beyond Neptune, something began to move. Stations that had been silent for decades started powering up. Ships that nobody knew existed began running system checks. Crews that had been training in secret received their activation orders. For over a century, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Not hoping for it, not wanting it, but preparing for it. Because humans had learned something important in their long history. It was better to have weapons and not need them than to need weapons and not have them. The public knew about the colonial fleet. Those were the ships that carried supplies and people to new worlds. The public knew about the patrol ships. Those were small vessels that protected trade routes from pirates. But the public did not know about the Earth Defense Force. They did not know about the weapons that had been developed in secret laboratories. They did not know about the soldiers who had trained their entire lives for a war that might never come. Admiral Grant watched her screen as status reports came in. Ship after ship reported ready. Weapon system after weapon system came online. She allowed herself a small, grim smile. Let them come, she whispered. Let them come and learn what happens when you threaten humanity. Back on the horizon's edge, Jake was still standing on the bridge. He was looking out at the stars. They looked the same as always. Bright points of light in the endless dark, but now he knew the truth. Some of those lights were home to other species, and some of those species were dangerous, Captain, Amy said softly. Do you think we will be okay? Jake wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her everything would be fine, but he respected his crew too much for lies. I do not know, he said honestly, but I know one thing. Humans are survivors. We have been surviving for thousands of years. We will find a way, Amy nodded. She did not look completely convinced, but she went back to her work. The horizon's edge continued on its route, just another cargo ship in the vast emptiness of space. But the message it had received would change everything. The distress signal from a dying alien ship had started something that could not be stopped. Humanity was about to reveal a secret it had kept for over 100 years, and the galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 3 months passed. Life on the colonies continued as normal. People went to work. Children went to school. Nobody knew about the alien threat. The government had kept it secret. On the colony of New Seattle, Governor Paul Harper was having a normal morning. He was drinking tea and reading reports about crop yields. The colony had been growing well. 5,000 people now called New Seattle home. It was peaceful. It was safe. Then the sky started to change. It was not clouds. It was not a storm. The sky was getting darker because something was blocking the sun. Governor Harper walked to the window. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Ships were appearing in the sky, hundreds of them. They were enormous. Each one was as big as a city. They were covered in dark metal that seemed to eat the light. Strange green symbols glowed on their hulls. Lisa Torres was the defense coordinator for New Seattle. She hit the emergency alarm. Sirens began wailing across the colony. All citizens, this is not a drill, Lisa announced over the speakers. Go to the evacuation centers immediately. All military personnel report to your stations. This is not a drill. New Seattle had 12 defense ships. They were small vessels designed to fight pirates. They were not designed to fight an alien armada. But the pilots launched anyway. They had to protect the colony. The first 3 ships fired their missiles at the alien vessels. The missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. Then one of the alien ships fired back. A single beam of green energy shot out. It hit all 3 human ships at once. They simply exploded. Pieces of metal rained down toward the planet. Governor Harper felt sick. Those were his people. Those were pilots he had dinner with last month. Now they were gone. Just gone. A voice came through on all communication channels. It was harsh. It sounded like metal scraping on metal. A computer was translating the alien language into English. Primitive species. You will stop fighting. We will take your biological matter. We will take your minerals. We will take your technology. Fighting only makes your death slower. Surrender makes your death faster. Lisa looked at the governor. Her hand was on the surrender button. Governor, we have 5,000 people here. Most of them are civilians, children, families. Our ships cannot hurt them. We have no chance. Harper stared at the button. He thought about his daughter. She was 7 years old. She was probably hiding in a shelter right now, scared and crying. He thought about all the other children. All the families. His finger moved toward the surrender button. Then a new voice came through the speakers. It was Admiral Grant. New Seattle, this is Earth Command. Do not surrender. I repeat, do not surrender. Help is coming. Hold for 7 minutes, Lisa shouted at the speaker. 7 minutes? Admiral, we do not have 7 seconds. They are landing ground troops now. Hold the line, Commander, Admiral Grant said. Her voice was calm. Help is closer than you think. The remaining 9 defense ships threw themselves at the alien fleet. They knew they would die, but they could buy time, maybe 7 minutes. Each ship rammed into the alien vessels at full speed. Some fired all their missiles at once. Some tried to crash into the alien hulls. It made no difference. The alien shields held. More green beams lashed out. More human ships exploded. Within 2 minutes, all 12 defense ships were gone. On the ground, large pods were falling from the alien ships. They hit the earth with heavy thuds. The pods opened. Machines walked out. They were huge, as tall as buildings, walking on 4 legs. Weapons covered their bodies. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, things that glowed with unknown energy. The colonial militia met them with rifles and rocket launchers. It was like trying to fight a tank with a slingshot. A war machine fired its plasma cannon. The entire defensive position vanished in a ball of green fire. 20 militia members were vaporized instantly. Governor Harper watched from the command center. Tears ran down his face. He was about to hit the surrender button when Lisa grabbed his arm. Look, she said. She was pointing at the sensor screen. Something is happening. New contacts were appearing on the sensors. They were not coming from hyperspace. They were just appearing, as if they had been hiding in normal space all along. Waiting. 6 ships appeared between New Seattle and the alien fleet. They were different from any human ship Harper had ever seen. They were sleek, angular, covered in armor that seemed to shimmer and change color. They were nearly as large as the alien vessels. But there was something predatory about them. They looked like sharks, silent, deadly. The lead ship broadcast on all channels. The voice was calm, almost casual. Varkoth Fleet, this is Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth Defense Force ship Vigilant. You have entered human space. You have attacked human civilians. You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Earth Defense Force? Harper had never heard of it. What was this? The Varkoth did not respond with words. They responded with weapons. 100 green plasma beams shot out from the alien fleet. They were the same beams that had destroyed the defense ships so easily. But something was different this time. The beams hit the 6 human ships and stopped. Energy shields flared to life around each vessel. But these were not like the weak shields on civilian ships. These shields absorbed the plasma. The shields glowed brighter and brighter with each hit. It looked like they were feeding on the energy. The plasma barrage lasted 10 seconds. When it stopped, all 6 human ships were still there, completely undamaged. Captain Blake's voice came again. It was no longer casual. It was cold. You were warned. You chose violence. Now you will learn why humanity does not lose. The 6 ships opened fire, but they did not use energy weapons. Rails on their hulls began to glow with blue-white light. Magnetic accelerators, railguns, they fired solid projectiles, tungsten rods. Each rod was traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The first volley hit 3 Varkoth ships. The alien shields were designed for energy weapons. They did nothing against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The tungsten rods punched straight through the alien hulls. The kinetic energy was enormous. Each impact released as much energy as a nuclear bomb. 3 Varkoth ships simply came apart. Metal tore. Explosions rippled through their structures. Within seconds, 3 of the massive alien vessels were nothing but expanding clouds of debris. Governor Harper stood with his mouth open. Lisa was gripping her console so hard her knuckles were white. On the ground, the militia members stopped shooting at the war machines. Everyone was staring at the sky. What are those ships? Harper whispered. I have no idea, Lisa said. But they are on our side. The Varkoth fleet was breaking formation. Ships that had been advancing were now trying to retreat, but the human ships were faster. They moved with incredible speed and precision. Every shot hit its target. Every target was destroyed. One Varkoth ship tried to ram the Vigilant. It accelerated straight toward the human vessel. For a moment, it looked like the collision was inevitable. Then the Vigilant simply was not there anymore. Its engines flared. It moved to a new position in less than a second. The Varkoth ship flew through empty space. Before the alien ship could turn around, the Vigilant fired. Tungsten rods tore through its engines. The Varkoth vessel went dark. It began drifting, powerless and helpless. In less than 5 minutes, the battle was over. 20 Varkoth ships were destroyed. 10 more were disabled. The rest were trying desperately to escape. But they could not. The human ships had launched small devices that created gravity wells. The Varkoth could not jump to hyperspace while those devices were active. The Varkoth fleet was trapped, helpless, at the mercy of 6 human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Captain Blake broadcast again. Varkoth fleet, you will power down all weapons. You will not move. If you try to escape, you will be destroyed. If you try to fight, you will be destroyed. You have 1 minute to comply. There was a long pause. Then the remaining Varkoth ships began powering down their weapons. One by one, their systems went dark. They were surrendering. On New Seattle, people were emerging from the shelters. They stared up at the sky, at the 6 mysterious human ships that had saved them. Ships they had never known existed. Governor Harper sat down heavily in his chair. "What just happened?" he asked. Lisa shook her head slowly. "I think we just learned something about humanity that we never knew before." The Varkoth flagship was the largest ship in their fleet. Its commander was called War Leader Kreth. He had conquered 40 star systems. He had destroyed hundreds of enemy vessels. He had never known defeat. Now he stood on his bridge and watched his fleet burn. 20 ships destroyed in 5 minutes. Another 10 disabled. The rest trapped by some kind of gravity technology he did not understand. His weapons were useless against these human ships. His shields were useless against their weapons. Kreth had been told that humans were weak. They were a young species, only 200 years in space. No real military, no advanced weapons, easy prey. Someone had been very wrong. Captain Ryan Blake sat in his command chair on the Vigilant. Around him, his crew worked efficiently. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Some of them had been training for 20 years. All for a war that might never come. Well, the war had come, and it had lasted 5 minutes. His tactical officer, Sarah Johnson, spoke up. "Captain, the Varkoth flagship is transmitting. They want to talk." "Put them through," Blake said. The mechanical voice of the translator filled the bridge, but it sounded different now. Less confident. Almost uncertain. "Unknown species. You possess military capability beyond our intelligence reports. We request terms of withdrawal. We will leave your space. We will not return." Sarah looked at her captain. "Sir, we have them. We could destroy the entire fleet right now, end the Varkoth threat permanently." Blake nodded slowly. "We could, but that is not who we are." He opened the channel. "Varkoth fleet, these are our terms. You will shut down all weapon systems. You will give us your complete military database. You will allow us to attach tracking devices to every surviving ship. You will leave this sector immediately. You will never attack a human world again. You will never attack any world in this sector again. If you accept these terms, you live. If you refuse, you die. You have 2 minutes to decide." On the Varkoth flagship, Kreth looked at his officers. They all looked back at him. In Varkoth culture, surrender was shameful, but extinction was worse. "We accept," Kreth said. Over the next hour, the Varkoth complied with every demand. They transmitted their entire military database. The information was stunning. The Varkoth had been expanding through this region of space for 200 years. They had conquered 47 species. They had destroyed countless civilizations that refused to submit. The database also contained information about other aggressive species in the galaxy. There were more threats out there. The Varkoth were not unique. They were just the ones who had come to human space first. Sarah reviewed the data. "Captain, this is incredible. And terrifying. The galaxy is more dangerous than we thought." "Then it is good we prepared," Blake said simply. Small human ships moved among the Varkoth fleet. They attached tracking devices to each vessel. The devices were small but powerful. They would allow human forces to know exactly where every Varkoth ship was at all times. If they ever came back, humanity would know immediately. Finally, the gravity wells were deactivated. The Varkoth ships powered up their hyperspace drives. One by one, they jumped away. Within minutes, the sky above New Seattle was clear again. Only the 6 human ships remained. Governor Harper stood at his window and watched the mysterious ships. Smaller vessels were deploying from them. Medical ships, repair ships, relief supplies. The Earth Defense Force was helping the colony recover. A communication came through. It was Admiral Grant. Her face appeared on every screen in the colony. She looked tired but determined. People of New Seattle, this is Admiral Helen Grant of Earth Command. I know you have many questions. I know you want answers. You deserve them, she paused. Thousands of people across the colony were watching, waiting. Humanity has always known that we might not be alone in the universe, the Admiral continued. We hoped we would find friends, but we prepared for the possibility of finding enemies. For over 100 years, we have been building a secret military force, ships designed not for trade but for war, weapons designed not to intimidate but to protect, soldiers trained not for glory but for duty. We kept this secret because the moment your enemies know about your weapons, they develop counters. Surprise is a weapon itself. And today that surprise saved your lives. It saved this colony, and it sent a message to anyone watching. Admiral Grant's expression softened slightly. I know some of you feel betrayed. You feel we should have told you. But consider this. If you had known about our military capabilities, you might have felt safe. You might have been less careful. You might have taken risks you should not have taken. Sometimes the shield works best when people do not know it is there. But now the secret is revealed. Now the galaxy knows. Humanity has teeth. Humanity has claws. And humanity will use them to protect not just our own people, but any species that asks for our help. The transmission ended. Governor Harper looked at Lisa. She was smiling, crying, both at once. We survived, she said. We actually survived. Harper nodded. Because someone was watching over us. Someone we never knew about. In orbit, Captain Blake was receiving new orders. Admiral Grant's face appeared on his private screen. Good work, Captain, she said. You performed exactly as expected. Thank you, Admiral. What are our next orders? Hold position at New Seattle. The civilian government will want to meet you. More importantly, we are receiving communications from other species. Dozens of them. They all saw what happened here. They all want to talk to us, Blake raised an eyebrow. What kind of talk? Some want alliances. Some want trade. Some want to hire us as mercenaries. And some want to join something called the Galactic Council. Apparently we have been invited. The Galactic Council? A group of spacefaring species that meet to discuss peace and cooperation. They have existed for thousands of years. And they never invited us because they thought we were too primitive and too aggressive. Blake smiled. And now? Now they are very interested in being our friends. Funny how that works. What will we do? Admiral Grant smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had just won a very important game. We will accept their invitation. We will join their council. And we will make sure that what happened to those 17 destroyed civilizations never happens again. Not to them, not to us. Not to anyone, Blake nodded. Understood, Admiral. The Vigilant will hold position and await further instructions. The transmission ended. Blake looked around his bridge. His crew was tired but satisfied. They had done what they trained to do. They had protected human lives. They had sent a clear message to potential enemies. Sarah spoke quietly. Captain, do you think there will be others? Other species like the Varkoth? Probably, Blake said. The galaxy is a big place. There are always predators. But now they know something important. Humanity is not prey. We are not victims. We are protectors. And we do not lose. Far away on dozens of worlds, other species were watching recordings of the battle. They were analyzing the human weapons, studying the human tactics, reconsidering their assumptions about this young species. Humanity had revealed its secret. And in doing so, humanity had changed the balance of power in the entire galaxy. The recording of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within 3 days, every major civilization had seen it. Within a week, it was being studied in military academies on hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The council consisted of 17 different species, They met in a massive space station that floated in neutral territory. The station had existed for over 3,000 years. It was a symbol of peace and cooperation. Keeper Liss of the Threen attended the meeting. She was the one who had sent the original distress signal. Her science vessel had been badly damaged by the Varkoth, but her crew had survived by hiding in an asteroid field. When human ships found them a week later, they were rescued and brought to the Council Station. Now Liss stood before the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. She was nervous. The Threen were a peaceful species. They preferred exploration and research to politics. But she had information the Council needed to hear. Honored Council members, Liss began. Her voice was translated into 17 different languages simultaneously. We have all seen the recordings from New Seattle. We have all witnessed the capabilities of the Human Earth Defense Force. I stand here to tell you that the humans saved my crew. Without their intervention, we would all be dead. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. At the back, sitting quietly, was Ambassador Kevin Wright. He was the newly appointed human representative to the Galactic Council. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. An elder from the Zephlon Collective stood up. The Zephlon were one of the oldest species in the Council. They had been exploring space for over 5,000 years. The humans have violated the fundamental principle of this council, the Zephlon elder said. His voice was cold. Full military transparency. They hid weapons of immense power. They built a secret war fleet. How can we trust such a species? Kevin stood up. All eyes turned to him. He felt his heart pounding but kept his voice steady. With respect, Counselor, humanity never agreed to your principles. We were never invited to join your council until now. We learned of your existence only 5 years ago when we first met the Threen. Since then, we have been trying to understand our place in this galaxy. He paused and looked around the chamber. What we learned was troubling. We learned that the Galactic Council has many rules but no way to enforce them. We learned that aggressive species like the Varkoth have been conquering and destroying civilizations for centuries. We learned that your council holds debates while innocent people die. Several council members began shouting protests. Kevin raised his voice. We watched 17 civilizations fall while your council held meetings. We received a distress signal from the Threen and we acted. Not because we seek power, not because we want to dominate, but because when someone is drowning, you do not hold a committee meeting. You throw them a rope. The protest quieted. In the silence, a representative from the Tarn Confederacy spoke. The Tarn were traitors. Their merchant networks connected half the galaxy. Ambassador Wright, your species has been in space for only 200 years. Yet your military technology appears superior to races that have been spacefaring for thousands of years. How is this possible? Kevin allowed himself a small smile. Because humans have been fighting each other for our entire history. We perfected warfare long before we reached the stars. When we finally achieved peace on Earth, we did not forget those lessons. We redirected them. Every ship we built, every weapon we developed, every tactic we refined came from thousands of years of hard experience. Keeper Liss spoke again. The human ambassador speaks truth. In my research of Earth history, I learned that humans developed nuclear weapons before they had reliable space travel. They created global communication networks and immediately weaponized them. They fought wars that killed millions of their own people. When they finally united their planet, they asked themselves one question. How do we protect ourselves from threats we have not met yet? She gestured to the holographic display showing the battle. This is the answer. Humanity prepared for war while hoping for peace. When that war came, they were ready. The Zephlon elder sat down slowly. So what happens now? Humanity has revealed its power. Will you seek to dominate us as the Varkoth sought to dominate others? Kevin met the elder's eyes. Humanity seeks friends, not subjects. We offer our protection to any species that requests it. We offer to share our defensive technology with any civilization that promises to use it only for protection. And we offer to join your Galactic Council, not as conquerors, but as equals. He paused. But we will not join a council that only talks while people die. If we join, we will push for real change. We will push for mutual defense treaties. We will push for the council to have actual power to stop aggressors like the Varkoth. The chamber fell completely silent. This was not how new species usually addressed the council. Most new members were grateful just to be invited. They accepted the rules quietly. But humans were different. Slowly, Keeper Liss began to tap her manipulator appendages together. It was the Threen gesture of approval. Other species began to join her. Not all of them, but many. The sound grew louder and louder until it filled the chamber. The council leader, an ancient being from the Praxis Accord, raised one crystalline limb. The sound stopped. "We will vote," the leader announced. "The question is simple. Should humanity be invited to join the Galactic Council? Those in favor, signal now." Kevin held his breath. 12 lights appeared on the voting board. 12 species voting yes. Then 13. 14. The count stopped there. "Those opposed?" the leader asked. 5 more lights appeared. 5 species voting no, mostly older civilizations who did not like change. The Zephlon Elder was among them. "The vote is 14 in favor, 5 opposed," the leader announced. "Humanity is invited to join the Galactic Council." Kevin let out his breath. But the council leader was not finished. "There is another matter," the leader said. 7 species have submitted requests for mutual defense treaties with humanity. The Threen, the Tarn, the Silicate Union, the Harmony Collective, the Outer Rim Alliance, the Crystal Fellowship, and the Morning Star Republic. Kevin felt his eyes widen. 7 species. That was more than a third of the council. They all wanted humanity to protect them. "Ambassador Wright, does humanity accept these requests?" the leader asked. Kevin thought quickly. This was a huge responsibility, but it was also an opportunity to build real alliances, real friendships. "Humanity accepts," he said clearly. "We will review each request individually and negotiate fair terms." "But yes, we accept." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were excited. Others were worried. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting right before their eyes. After the meeting, Kevin stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. Keeper Liss joined him. "Thank you," she said simply, "for saving my crew, for standing up in the council, for giving us hope." Kevin smiled. "We are just trying to do the right thing." "That is what makes you special," Liss replied. "Many species talk about doing the right thing. Humans actually do it." They stood together in comfortable silence watching the stars. Both of them knew that everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. Back on Earth, Admiral Grant was meeting with the Security Council. They were discussing the implications of the new alliances. 7 mutual defense treaties, one counselor said. "That means we are responsible for protecting 7 different civilizations." "Can we handle that?" Admiral Grant smiled. "We have been building the Earth Defense Force for over a century. We have 60 capital ships, 300 support vessels, and 50,000 trained personnel. Yes, we can handle it, but at what cost?" another counselor asked. "The cost of friendship," Grant replied. "The cost of not standing alone. The cost of building a better galaxy. I think that is a price worth paying." The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would accept the defense treaties. Humanity would join the Galactic Council. Humanity would become not just a member of galactic civilization, but a protector of it. The SOS that had started everything, the desperate cry for help from Keeper Liss, had led to this moment. Humanity had revealed its strength, and in doing so, humanity had found its purpose. 6 months after the battle at New Seattle, life had changed dramatically across human space. Everyone now knew about the Earth Defense Force. The secret was out. And surprisingly, most people felt relieved rather than betrayed. Captain Jake Morrison was back on the horizon's edge. His cargo ship had been upgraded with new defensive systems, nothing like the military ships, but enough to protect against pirates and small threats. The government was retrofitting every civilian vessel this way. Amy Chen was still his communications officer. Together, they had witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary. The distress signal they had picked up 6 months ago had changed the entire galaxy. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," Amy said. "It is a Threen science vessel. They are requesting permission to dock with us." Jake smiled. "Grant them permission. Let us see what our new friends want." The Threen ship was small and elegant. It looked more like a work of art than a spaceship. It docked gently with the horizon's edge. Jake and Amy went to the airlock to greet their visitors. Keeper Liss emerged first. She moved gracefully on her 6 limbs. Behind her came 3 other Threen scientists. They all wore translation devices that would convert their speech to English. "Captain Morrison," Liss said, bowing in the Threen way, "it is an honor to finally meet you in person." Your ship received our distress signal. Your actions started a chain of events that saved countless lives. Jake felt embarrassed. I was just doing my job, Keeper. Any captain would have done the same thing. Liz made a sound that the translator turned into gentle laughter. Perhaps. But you were the one who did it. And because of you, the Varkoth have retreated. 17 destroyed civilizations have been avenged. My people are safe. She produced a small crystalline device from a pouch. It glowed with soft blue light. I bring you a gift. This is a Threen data repository. It contains our complete history, our scientific knowledge, and our cultural records. We are sharing this with humanity as a gesture of friendship and trust. Jake carefully took the device. It was warm to the touch. This is incredibly generous, but I am just a cargo captain. Should this not go to Earth Command? Earth Command already has a copy, Liz explained. I am giving this to you personally because it was your ship that heard our call for help. In Threen culture, that creates a special bond. We call it vessels touching. The idea is that when two ships meet in the vast emptiness of space, it creates a connection that goes beyond species or distance. Amy spoke up. Keeper Liz, may I ask you something? After learning about our military capabilities, are you afraid of us? Liz considered the question carefully. Her large eyes blinked slowly. Afraid? No. Respectful? Yes, your species has great power, but you have also shown restraint. When Captain Blake had the Varkoth fleet trapped, he could have destroyed every ship. Instead, he offered terms. That choice told us more about humanity than any weapons demonstration ever could. She gestured toward a viewport where stars stretched in all directions. The galaxy is vast. There are wonders we have yet to discover and dangers we have yet to face. The Varkoth were not the first aggressive species, and they will not be the last. But now, when those threats appear, they will face not just one species defending itself. They will face an alliance. Jake thought about her words. Humanity had spent so long preparing for war that they had almost forgotten how to make friends. But perhaps that was the real strength they brought to the galaxy. Not their weapons or their ships, but their willingness to stand beside others when danger came. Keeper Liz, Jake said formally, I accept your gift with deep gratitude, and I hope that our vessels will touch many more times in the years to come. Liz bowed again. As do I, Captain Morrison. As do I. The Threen delegation stayed for several hours. They shared stories about their culture. They asked questions about Earth. They talked about science and exploration in the future. By the time they left, Jake felt like he had made real friends. Not just allies, but friends. That evening, Jake stood alone on the bridge. The Threen vessel had departed. The Horizon's Edge was back on course for its next delivery, but everything felt different now. The universe felt smaller and more connected. His communicator chimed. Admiral Grant's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but satisfied. Captain Morrison, she said, I wanted to thank you personally. Your decision to report that distress signal saved not just the Threen, but potentially dozens of other species. The Galactic Council is already implementing new defense protocols based on our recommendations. I was just in the right place at the right time, Admiral, Jake replied. Grant smiled. It was a rare expression on her usually stern face. That is what all heroes say. Get some rest, Captain. Something tells me the galaxy is going to need more people like you. The transmission ended. Jake looked out at the stars and allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He was not a soldier. He was not a diplomat. He was just a cargo captain. But somehow he had played a part in changing galactic history. Across human space, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships were meeting with alien vessels. Trade agreements were being signed. Cultural exchanges were being organized. Scientists were sharing research. Teachers were sharing lessons. The 7 species with defense treaties were working closely with human military advisors. They were learning human tactics, adopting human technologies, building their own defensive capabilities. But more importantly, they were building trust. Not everyone was happy about the changes. Some older civilizations resented humanity's rapid rise to prominence. Some feared that humans would become the new Varkoth, conquering instead of protecting. But these voices grew quieter with each passing month as humanity proved itself through actions, not words. Captain Ryan Blake was still patrolling near New Seattle. His ship, the Vigilant, had become famous across the galaxy. Young people from a dozen species wanted to join the Earth Defense Force. Some wanted to fight. Others just wanted to be part of something important. Blake was reviewing applications when his tactical officer, Sarah Johnson, approached him. "Captain, we just received interesting news from Earth Command. The Varkoth have sent a formal communication. They want to open diplomatic relations with humanity." Blake raised an eyebrow. "The Varkoth? The same species we defeated 6 months ago?" "Yes, sir. Apparently their entire government has undergone major changes. They have a new leader, new policies. They claim they want to learn from us. They want to change from conquerors to traitors." Blake leaned back in his chair. "What does Earth Command think?" "They are cautiously optimistic. They want to send a diplomatic team, but they want military escort." "Guess who they picked?" Blake smiled. "When do we leave?" 2 days, sir," Blake nodded. "Good. Tell the crew to prepare. And Sarah, make sure we are ready for anything. Just because they want to talk does not mean we trust them yet." "Understood, Captain." Across the galaxy, change was happening everywhere. Species that had been isolated were now communicating. Civilizations that had been targets were now protected. The galaxy was becoming more connected, more cooperative, and more peaceful. It was not perfect. There were still threats, still dangers, still species that preferred conquest over cooperation. But now those species faced something they had never encountered before. United opposition, species working together, protecting each other, and at the center of it all was humanity. The young species that had prepared for war but chose peace. The species that had built weapons but used them only for protection. The species that had kept secrets but revealed them when necessary. On Earth, in the memorial garden outside Earth Command headquarters, a new monument was being unveiled. It showed 2 ships touching in space, 1 human, 1 Threen. Below it, an inscription read simply, "From one distress call, an alliance was born. May we always answer the call of those in need." Admiral Grant stood before the monument with Keeper Liss beside her. Cameras recorded the moment for broadcast across human space and beyond. "Today we remember how this all began," Grant said, with a cry for help. "And we remember how humanity responded, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with action. That is who we are. That is who we will always be." Keeper Liss spoke next. "And today the Threen people thank humanity for their courage, for their strength, and most importantly for their compassion. You did not have to help us, but you did, and in doing so you gave the galaxy hope." The ceremony ended, but the work continued. Humanity's role as protector and ally was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead. New threats would emerge, but humanity would not face them alone. They would face them with friends, with allies, with species who trusted them to do the right thing. The SOS that had revealed Earth's true military strength had become something more. It had become the foundation of a new galactic order. An order based not on fear or domination, but on cooperation and mutual protection. And somewhere in deep space, the Earth Defense Force continued its eternal patrol. Always watching, always ready, always prepared to answer the call when others needed help. 1 year had passed since the battle at New Seattle. The galaxy had transformed in ways nobody could have predicted. The Galactic Council was stronger and more unified than ever before. 7 mutual defense treaties had grown to 12. More species wanted humanity's protection and friendship. But not everyone was happy about these changes. In the dark regions of space, far from the Council territories, other powers were watching. Powers that did not like what humanity represented. Powers that preferred the old ways where the strong took what they wanted and the weak simply suffered. The Craven Empire was one such power. They controlled 60 star systems. They had conquered dozens of species. They believed in strength above all else, and they viewed humanity's rise with suspicion and anger. Emperor Vox, the leader of the Craven, called a meeting of his war council. The chamber was dark and cold. The Craven preferred it that way. They were large beings covered in thick armor-like skin. They stood on 2 powerful legs and had 4 arms that ended in sharp claws. "The humans are changing everything," Vox growled. His voice was deep and threatening. "Species that used to fear us now feel safe. Prey that used to be easy is now protected. This cannot continue." General Cragg, his chief military advisor, stepped forward. "My Emperor, the humans defeated the Varkoth fleet easily. Their weapons are formidable. We should not engage them directly." "I did not say we would fight them directly," Vox replied. "I said we would test them. See how committed they really are to protecting these weak species. Send a raiding force to the Silicate Union. Not a full invasion. just enough to see how the humans respond. Crag bowed. "It will be done, my Emperor." 3 weeks later, a Craven raiding force appeared at the edge of Silicate Union space. The Silicates were a peaceful species. They lived on worlds with high silicon content and built beautiful crystal cities. They had no real military. They depended entirely on their defense treaty with humanity. The Craven sent a message. It was simple and direct. "Silicates, you will provide us with resources, crystals, minerals, technology. If you refuse, we will take them by force. You have 1 hour to decide." The Silicate Prime, the leader of their species, immediately activated the emergency beacon that humanity had provided. Within seconds, the signal reached Earth Command. Admiral Grant was in a meeting when the alert came through. She read the message quickly and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "It seems someone wants to test us," she said. "Let us show them what happens when you threaten our friends. Contact Captain Blake. His fleet is closest to Silicate space." Captain Ryan Blake received his orders while his fleet was conducting training exercises. The Vigilant and 5 other Earth Defense Force ships were practicing new combat formations. When the orders came through, the practice stopped immediately. "All ships, this is Blake," he broadcast to his fleet. "We have a situation in Silicate space. The Craven Empire is making demands. We are going to remind them why that was a mistake. Jump coordinates are being transmitted now. We leave in 5 minutes." Sarah Johnson, his tactical officer, was already calculating jump times. "Captain, we can reach Silicate space in 40 minutes, but we will arrive after their deadline." "That is fine," Blake said calmly. "I want the Craven to commit. I want them to think they can get away with this. Then we will educate them." In Silicate space, the hour deadline passed. The Craven raiding force consisted of 15 warships. They were older vessels, not the Empire's best, but still formidable against an unarmed species. "No response from the Silicates," reported the Craven raid commander. "They are refusing to comply." "Then we take what we came for," the commander ordered. "Begin planetary bombardment. Target their crystal formations. We will harvest the debris." The Craven ships moved into firing position, their weapons charged. The Silicate Prime watched from the planetary surface and said a silent prayer to the humans. "Please hurry," he thought. "Please come." Then, just as the Craven were about to fire, space twisted. 6 human ships dropped out of hyperspace directly between the Craven fleet and the Silicate homeworld. Captain Blake broadcast on all frequencies. "Craven vessels, this is Captain Ryan Blake of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of Silicate Union space. You are threatening a species under human protection. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately." The Craven commander laughed. It was a harsh, grating sound. "6 ships? You think 6 ships can stop the might of the Craven Empire? We have faced larger fleets than this." "This is your only warning," Blake replied. His voice had gone cold. "Withdraw or be destroyed. Choose now." "Destroy them," the Craven commander ordered. The Craven ships opened fire. Energy weapons and missiles filled the space between the 2 fleets. It was an impressive display of firepower, more than enough to destroy most military vessels, but the human shields held easily, just like they had against the Varkoth. The energy was absorbed and dissipated. The missiles exploded harmlessly against defensive fields. "Target their weapon systems," Blake ordered. "Disable, do not destroy. I want survivors to carry our message back to their empire." The human ships fired. Precision railgun shots tore through Craven weapon arrays. Engines were damaged but not destroyed. Within 2 minutes, all 15 Craven ships were helpless. They could not fight. They could not run. They could only drift. Blake opened a channel to the Craven commander. "This is what happens when you threaten humanity's allies. Your ships are intact. Your crews are alive. You will take this message back to your emperor. Any species under human protection is off limits. Any attack on our allies will be met with overwhelming force. We do not seek war with the Craven Empire, but we will not tolerate aggression against those we have sworn to defend." The Craven commander said nothing. What could he say? His entire fleet had been neutralized in minutes. "You are free to leave," Blake continued. "Your engines still function. Take your ships and go, and tell your emperor that if he wants to test humanity again, we will be happy to provide another lesson." The Craven ships began limping away. They would need weeks of repairs. The commander would face punishment from Emperor Vox, but they would live, and they would spread the story of what had happened. On the Silicate homeworld, the Prime was weeping tears of relief. The humans had come. They had kept their promise. The silicates were safe. Back in Craven space, Emperor Vox received the report of the failed raid. He was furious. But he was also intelligent enough to recognize reality. The humans were not bluffing. They were not weak. They would defend their allies. Send a message to the Galactic Council, Vox ordered. The Craven Empire wishes to open diplomatic relations with humanity. General Craig looked shocked. My Emperor, we do not negotiate. We conquer. Times are changing, General, Vox said quietly. We can change with them or we can be left behind. I prefer to adapt. News of the incident spread quickly. The Craven had tested humanity and lost. Other aggressive species took note. Maybe the humans were serious about protecting their allies. Maybe attacking species under human protection was not worth the risk. On Earth, Admiral Grant addressed the Security Council. The Craven incident proves our strategy is working. We do not need to conquer. We do not need to threaten. We just need to be strong enough that others think twice before attacking those under our protection. How many more alliances can we support? A counselor asked. As many as necessary, Grant replied. The Earth Defense Force was built for this. We have the ships. We have the personnel. We have the will. And most importantly, we have proven that we mean what we say. Captain Jake Morrison heard about the Craven incident while delivering cargo to a mining colony. He smiled when Amy told him the news. The humans he had alerted about the original distress signal were now protecting dozens of species across the galaxy. Do you ever think about how much has changed? Amy asked. 1 year ago, we picked up a distress signal. Now humanity is the most powerful protective force in the galaxy. Sometimes, Jake admitted. But mostly I think about all the people who are alive because we answered that call. The Threen, the silicates, all the other species who feel safe now. That is what matters. Across the galaxy, humanity's reputation continued to grow, not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as protectors, as allies, as the species that kept its promises. The SOS that had started it all, the desperate cry from Keeper Liss, had led to something beautiful. A galaxy where the weak were no longer defenseless, where aggressors faced consequences, where cooperation was stronger than conquest. And at the heart of it all was humanity, the young species that had revealed its true military strength not through aggression, but through protection. Not through threats, but through action. Not through conquest, but through friendship. The Earth Defense Force continued its patrol. Always ready, always vigilant, always prepared to answer the next call for help. Because that was what humanity did now. They protected those who could not protect themselves. They stood up for the weak against the strong. They made the galaxy a safer place. And if anyone doubted their commitment, if anyone thought humans were bluffing, they only had to remember New Seattle, or the Silicate homeworld, or any of the dozen other times humanity had proven that their word meant something. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity did not lose, and more importantly, neither did